Welcome to App Stories, a weekly exploration of the world of apps. Today's show is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, Backblaze. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is my co-host, Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
Hey, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You know what? We have been, both of us, experimenting on and off with our TV setups. So one thing I thought would be a lot of fun to share with listeners would be both what those setups are, because I think the context is really important to understand the apps that we use that go along with just general TV and movie watching in your house and mine.
I think experimenting means we've been spending a lot of money. Usually that's what it means, either on new gear or new apps. Yes, we have been experimenting, John. That is true.
It's for science. It's for science.
It's for the site. Every time I buy something, I say it's for the site.
Exactly. Everything's a tax write-off.
So yes. So we have a relatively small apartment here, and for months I was trying to convince my girlfriend that I wanted to get one of those big fancy 4K HDR TVs. And so since I would say the spring of 2017, last year, I had been keeping an eye on the new TVs that, at the time, the new TVs that LG had announced at CES 2017. So last year's line of the 4K HDR OLED TVs that they have. And my girlfriend initially, she said, "Oh, this is way too big. We don't need this kind of television. It's just you're crazy. It's because you want to have this big TV, but it's useless." And so for months, I've been trying to work my angle to.
You've been wearing her down for 6 months, is what you're telling me.
That's what I've been doing. I've also been waiting for price drops, and eventually, during the week of Black Friday, even though one of my original orders was canceled, I managed to get one of these TVs at a very good price, I would say. And it was worth waiting because I saved a lot of money. But I have the TV I want, which is in our bedroom now. It's a 55-inch LG 4K HDR OLED television. It's the B7, and then it depends on the country code. I think in Italy it's called the B7V, and elsewhere it's just the B7 or B7E, I think. Anyway, it's beautiful, and I love it. But that pushed me to rethink our entire setup. So in terms of just a television screen, we have the 4K OLED in the bedroom, and we have the old one that used to be in the bedroom, which is some kind of old Samsung 1080p TV, is now in the kitchen/living room, which is a small space that is both a kitchen with a table and a couch. Because, as I said, it's a small apartment. So yeah, right now we have these two televisions. One is the good one, the one in the bedroom where all my video game consoles are plugged in and where we watch movies. But the other one, which is more of a sort of, we watch the news on it, we watch YouTube, and sometimes we play with the Nintendo Switch, because you, John, bought me a second dock months ago from the US.
Right. Yep.
So this is our setup for televisions. What's yours like?
So I guess about a dozen years ago, we added on to our house, and we have, in a way, a very similar space, it sounds like, to your kitchen living room setup, in that the kitchen and the living room are all really one big space. So you can stand in the kitchen and see the TV, and in between there is, like an island for making meals, as well as then there's, for beyond that, a couch. So it's all one big open space. So that's where our main TV viewing happens. And I've got a Sony 1080p TV in there that I got maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe not even that long. So I haven't replaced that. It's about 50 inches, and that sits on the wall, and it's got an Apple TV connected to it. And then we've got a TV in our bedroom and a TV in the basement. In the basement we have, I think it's a Vizio TV, and that's really just for video games. That's where the PS4 is hooked up and an Xbox 360, and so that's kind of where the heavy-duty gaming happens. Although the Switch, because it doesn't really stand out, it's up in the kitchen, up in the living room, and I like playing it up there. So that's like really that was kind of a big step, because it was like the first game thing that migrated to the main living space in our house. And then we also have a fairly inexpensive, like 40-inch Vizio or something along those lines television in our bedroom that's only hooked up to an Apple TV, and that really doesn't get watched all that much. Maybe a little bit here and there in the evenings.
Okay. No, that sounds nice. Well, of course, I don't have that kind of like studio setup that you have. Even though once we move into a new place, I would love to have that kind of room where I could probably live with a slightly smaller 4K TV. At least that's my idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get like a smaller one with a couch in front of it, so it's not like I really need a big one. And then I can move all my video game consoles out of the bedroom and into my ideal studio.
Federico's space.
It's Federico space. Because right now, all the consoles, as I said, the PS4, well, all the consoles actually mean the PS4 Pro and the Nintendo Switch, with the main
Right.
dock, because I don't have an Xbox, are in the bedroom because they go to the 4K TV. And also, just a couple of days ago, I had to plug in my PSVR again, and because we had some friends over. And this is my problem right now, because the good TV is in the bedroom. When we have
Right.
friends over, we need to invite them into the bedroom if they want to play video games. But
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a little awkward.
it's a little awkward, but they are close friends, so it's fine. And also, it's not like it's such a tiny room. There's basically nothing
Sure.
to hide because it's
Right.
just very basic. So ideally, I would want a separate room where I can record podcasts and play video games and invite people. But also, I have an Apple TV 4K and a Google Chromecast Ultra for 4K playback of YouTube stuff, also in the bedroom. And the core of our media experience, though, is not in the bedroom, is in the other room, where just below the TV is my router, where it's connected to an NVIDIA Shield Pro, which is this box that runs Android TV. And reason why, I think we talked about this before somewhere, or
I think you talked about it on Connected one
I
time.
probably did, yeah. And the NVIDIA Shield Pro, what it does is it fetches video files from a Synology NAS that I have here at home. It's our personal, our home server that we use for storing movies and TV shows and music and stuff like that. And the reason why I use the NVIDIA Shield Pro is that it's fast enough, because it's got a Tegra chip in it, to run the Plex Media server and be able to do the encoding. Actually, it's called transcoding for Plex playback on iPhones, iPads, and Apple TVs without having to wait for the video to buffer, because the transcoding is otherwise very slow. I tried to run Plex Media Server on the Synology itself, but the CPU that is inside most of these Synology, especially the low price ones, such as mine,
Right.
they're so underspec'd. They cannot
Right.
encode any video, really. Basically, one time I tried to encode a video on the Synology, and I could not, and I swear I could not even open a folder in the file manager. Like,
Oh,
it was
wow.
so slow. And
That is
yeah, and so the NVIDIA Shield is like a separate server that runs on top of Android TV, and it takes care of running Plex. Plex takes the video from the Synology, it transcodes the video, and then we can watch the video on Plex, or usually on the Apple TV 4K, or on the other Apple TV 4th generation that is also in the living room/kitchen, or just on our iPads, if we, for some reason, we don't want to watch TV on the TV.
Interesting. Well, let me tell you about how I get the signals and the videos around to the various TVs in my house. So I guess we are primarily an Apple TV household now. I got rid of cable last summer with the intention of moving everything to a la carte services. And I did it when Hulu Live was first introduced as a beta in the US, because Chicago was one of the markets where they launched, and it gives you something like, I forget, maybe 30 or 40 channels that are live TV, as well as the usual Hulu on-demand, TV show library that they already have. So the Apple TV is at the center of everything, and that's primarily the 4th gen Apple TV in our living room kitchen. And we'll get to the apps in a minute, but it's mainly driven by Netflix, Hulu, and Plex. And so what Plex does is, I'm using Plex primarily for live TV, because what I did over the holidays is I got something called an HD Home Run Extend.
Yeah.
And it's this little box, right? It's this little box that does a lot. It's a lot like your NVIDIA Shield. But what it does is, I have an antenna that sits, I actually have it taped up behind an armoire in my bedroom with a cable wire coming out of it. and into the back of the HD Home Run Extend. And what this box does is it takes the signal and first it tunes the signal in, and then it transcodes it into H.264 files.
Nice.
For the same reasons that you're doing that with the NVIDIA Shield, is that I have it going ultimately to a Mac Mini, and I wasn't sure whether the Mac Mini would do a good job of doing that on the fly. So it gets transcoded in this box, and then it's connected via Ethernet into the home network, and it goes, the file gets streamed across the network and into a Mac Mini that's sitting in my basement, which has hard drives attached to it that are saving the files. So it becomes available on the Plex Media Server, and it's pretty cool. It is, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I think probably is that it's a little bit of a fiddly situation because dealing with over-the-air HD TV is not the easiest thing.
Yes, I agree. And the reason I agree is that I also got one of these digital TV tuners from Amazon, but I could not find an HD home run on Amazon Italy. So after some research on the Plex websites, it appeared that one of the couple of tuners that could work with the digital TV over-the-air network that we have in Italy was this one of these tuners from this company called Hoppage. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this.
I was waiting to hear you try to pronounce that.
Hoppage? I don't know. Is it French? Hoppage? I have no idea. Anyway, there's going to be a link in the show notes. And the problem is that this tuner is like a tiny USB stick that you need to plug into the antenna that goes into the wall, and it sits between the TV and the antenna plug in the wall. So what I did is the following. I got an antenna splitter from Amazon. So it's like an adapter that you plug into the wall, and from one antenna plug, it creates two of them. So my TV has an antenna cable going from the TV into the splitter, and the Hoppage tuner goes directly into the splitter. So it gets the signal, it tunes the signal. The problem is that I think the over-the-air digital TV system that we have in Italy, something is going on, either in Italy in general or with the antenna at the top of our building here. Because every couple of days, I get a message on my TV that says, we added new channels to your TV. And I'm like, I do not want new channels. Why are you making changes? So, and this has been happening so frequently lately. And it has resulted in the live DVR feature of Plex, which is ultimately connected to the Hoppage tuner, just losing the channels that I save, or telling me you need to update your drivers. And guess why it says this message? It's because the Hoppage does not support macOS. You need to update the drivers of this USB stick using Windows. And so I've resisted the temptation to install Windows. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I texted our friend Stephen Hackett saying, "What's the easiest?" I said, I was very vague. I was like, hypothetically, what's the easiest way for me to run Windows on my MacBook?
I've asked him almost the exact same
like,
question.
Why?
Before.
I said, I need to. There's some software that requires Windows, but I think I have to, because this device that came from Amazon must be running on some old firmware that does not play well with the TV system network in Italy. And so my experience with the Plex DVR feature, which is otherwise pretty awesome because you can watch live TV from your iPhone, for example, or you can record shows and watch the program guide. My experience so far has been so fiddly because it always gives me some kind of error message.
Yeah, I think mine's mostly fiddly because I've run into just little issues in getting it set up, like properly positioning the antenna. And I think I'd be much better off if I had an outdoor antenna, obviously. But it's been that sort of thing. And then my network going down, things like that. It's nice when it works, and I think it's getting more stable here. What I like is that, as you said, you can watch live TV from anywhere. I mean, I could conceivably even be in Rome, Italy, and watch live TV in Chicago.
Yeah. Actually, a few weeks ago, I asked you, John, can I watch the Golden Globes? Because my girlfriend and I, we like to watch these events when they are live in the US. They are super late in Italy, but we try to make an exception for the Grammys, the Golden Globes, and the Oscars because we like the the showbiz of Hollywood. We are fascinated with that
Sure.
industry, and also we listen to a lot of that music, and we try to keep up with the trends. You know me, I like to listen to new music all the time.
Right.
So a few weeks ago, I asked you, "Can I watch the Golden Globes?" And you gave me access to your Plex DVR. But the problem was that after I think a couple of hours, I lost the signal and I could not connect anymore. I think you were also in the middle of a snowstorm or something. So there were some problems
Yes.
with the antenna. But what I
Yes.
ended up doing is I found a live stream on Twitter with a link with a television network from Dubai that was rebroadcasting the Golden Globes. And so I
Huh.
finished watching the Golden Globes half in English and half in I suppose it was in Arabic with some
Uh-huh.
commentary that I couldn't really understand. So I was just looking at the pictures and seeing who was winning the awards.
It's quite an evening. And this is all at like 3, 4 in the
This
morning.
is all for
basically,
context.
right?
Yes, this is 4 in the morning. I'm watching the Golden Globes rebroadcasted on Dubai television from a link on Twitter. But I should say that as long as
You're dedicated.
committed to the cause, but as long as it worked, the Plex watching live TV on Plex is really nice because you can do so on iOS devices. You need to be a Plex Pass subscriber, I think. But if you are, and I am, and I know you are as well, John, you can watch from iOS. You can tune into live television from your iPad, for example, and you can also do the same on the Apple TV. So you download the Plex app on the Apple TV, you sign in with your account, and there's a live TV section. You can go in there and you see what's live now, or you can see the program guide. You can also, I think you can program some shows to be recorded locally on your Plex Media server. So in your case, they go
Right.
straight to the drives into the Mac Mini. In my case, they would go into the Synology. But yeah, it's nice when it works. I think we both have to figure out what's going on with our antenna situation.
Thanks to Backblaze for sponsoring App Stories this week. I'm really excited to have Backblaze as a sponsor of this episode. I've been using their cloud backup service for years. I've actually been using it for so long, I don't really even remember when I became a customer. It's been that many years. Apparently, I'm not alone because Backblaze has over 400 petabytes of data backed up for its customers. That's just an incredible amount of data. And they've restored over 27 billion files, all for just $5 a month on the personal plans. Backblaze works with both Macs and PCs. I've been using Backblaze with my Macs forever, and the initial backup takes a little while because it's a lot of data if you have a large drive, but once it gets caught up and it's fully backed up, the incremental backups don't take long at all. And they work in the background with the Backblaze app sitting in your menu bar where you don't notice it. And as far as I can tell, it has no impact on performance or on my internet service. I've never felt like it was slowing down my system, even a little bit. I've enjoyed it so much that I've actually, when my kids went off to college, I got them both Backblaze subscriptions to make sure that they were covered while they were at school as well. So let's get into a few of the details. Backups for Macs and PCs are unlimited for just $5 a month. There's also a business backup plan that comes with administrative tools for managing groups of computers, and that's $50 a year per computer. There are mobile apps for accessing your files on the go, and if you need to recover a lot of data, you can use Backblaze's Restore by Mail program to get a flash drive or a hard drive delivered directly to your home with your files on it. There's a cool Restore Return Refund program too. If you have a hard drive delivered to your home with restored files and return it to Backblaze within 30 days, they refund the cost of the drive entirely. So there's no cost to you at all. It's the beginning of the new year. If you're still living dangerously and not backing up, you owe it to yourself to do so. And you should check out Backblaze. Go to backblaze.com/appstories to learn more. That's backblaze.com/appstories. Use that URL so they know you came from the show. We'll put a link in the show notes too. Thanks again to Backblaze for supporting the show. All right, Federico. That I think that's enough on
Hmm.
hardware. I mean, it's obvious that we've been both been doing a lot of
Yeah,
experimenting, and
experimenting.
we have yes, and we have a little ways to go to make sure that we have a stable system. But I think we're both getting there. I want to talk a little bit about the apps that we use because when you split your television watching or movie watching across different technologies, whether it's the live streaming coming over the air or it's some streaming service on the internet, suddenly you've got kind of this balkanized system where it's hard to know what's playing where. So it helps to have apps figure out what's going on, what's playing when.
Hmm. Before I mention the apps that I use, I forgot to tell you something, like a little
Uh-huh.
secret I've been keeping from you
Oh no.
about hardware. So, have you ever
Yeah.
watched Parks and Recreation?
Yes.
So, a couple of months ago, I treated myself, as Tom used to say. I decided, it's time to treat yourself, and I
Right.
got a pair of, the BioPlay E8 wireless earbuds. Basically, the
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
because sounds totally wrong, but I I wanted to have I wanted to be able to play video games from
Uh-huh.
while laying in bed. So watching the TV from a distance of, I would say, 4 meters from where I sit in bed to the TV screen. And I did not want to have a wire, of course, for headphones. And I did not want to wear large, bulky headphones in bed. But I
Yeah.
did not want to ampere and pair my AirPods with the
Oh,
TV and
sure.
the iPhone. And so I bought a dedicated pair of Bluetooth earbuds and the BioPlay ones because of course I wanted the best ones.
Sure.
Arguably I could have bought another pair of AirPods now thinking about, in hindsight. But there's
Yeah, then you would have gotten mixed up with your other ones.
that
That's the
that was my
problem, right?
thinking.
And
That
then you
was
would
my
know what's
thinking.
paired with what.
AirPods because my thinking was AirPods are just for iOS. These other ones are for
Mm-hmm.
the TV. And there's some issues with them. I love the sound quality. The fit is not as comfortable as the AirPods, in my experience.
Hmm.
They have even with the Comply foam tips, they're just not as
Right.
comfortable as the AirPods. There's some issues with, like, sometimes the connection drops out, especially if I distance myself from the TV even more, or if, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if there's something obstructing, like in between myself and the TV, like the signal
Right.
gets cut off for a second. But my issues are not as severe as the ones mentioned in the Verge review. So I can tell you, playing wireless with a DualShock or the Nintendo Switch controllers plus wireless headphones is like a dream come true. While lying in bed and watching a 4K TV, it's awesome.
That's fun.
That's
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Anyway,
A lot of this stuff sometimes it really feels like the future when you're
it,
doing
it
this.
does. Every time I think
But
of it, it's like, man, this is pretty cool. So that was my secret. Back to apps.
all right.
I use for tracking TV shows. So over the years, I tried possibly like a dozen different TV trackers. And I settled on this service called Tracked TV, which is both a web app that you can use in the browser or like an API, like an account that you can integrate with third party clients. And there are many, many different third party clients for Tracked on the App Store. My favorite one for basically the past year has been Couchy. And Couchy, I really like because it's got two features that resonate with me. The first one is the main view, called the collection view. And here you see all the episodes of TV shows you need to watch. They are grouped by show. So it's not like an entire list of episodes, but they're grouped by show. You can define the size of the grid view. So you see these posters for TV shows, and there's a little label underneath each show that tells you how many episodes you're behind. And I really like this design because I like the use of color. I like the grid view. I like that it's configurable. So it really plays well with the way my brain thinks about TV shows. And the other feature that I love is the calendar view because it's basically a list of upcoming TV shows and they are
Right.
adjusted for time zone. So I can see that at 3 a.m. in Italy, which would be 8 a.m. Central, I guess. For example, there's a new episode of Young Sheldon playing. And the calendar view, it's just a quick way to see what is coming up. And I can go in there and I can see, and then of course there's episode details and all that. But these two features, the way that the design has been thought through in the app, it really works well with me.
Yeah, don't ever try to calculate time zones
No.
while you're recording a podcast, Federico.
No, I know.
I think
I got it wrong for sure.
I think you got it wrong for sure, because I think 3 a.m. in Italy is 8 p.m. in
What did I say?
Central
I
and
said
Chicago.
8 p.m.
You said 8
No,
a.m.
no, not 8 a.m.
So
8 p.m. p.m. Yes, p.m.
Right. The only thing about that calendar view is that when Netflix comes out with something, you get an enormous long list, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden,
Yep.
right in your calendar under one day. But yeah, I think Couchy is a great app. I really like, I think you're right. The fact that you can customize it, it does a great job with the artwork. There are a ton of these apps that use that API. There are a lot of them that are very similar. And I think it's, for most people, it really is just a matter of finding one that works the way you need it to work, that just kind of feels right for you and the way you watch TV. I like Couchy a lot too. Another really good one is TV Time. I don't know. Have you tried that one before?
Is it Television Time, the full name of the app?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think under the icon it says TV
Yes,
Time.
it does.
Yeah, I think Television
Yeah,
Time.
that's the one I used to have before Couchy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And another thing that I use a lot that's not an app is justwatch.com.
What is this Just Watch? I saw the link in your notes. What is it?
Yeah, that'll tell you how to find a particular show. So it's a little bit like, there used to be an app that I don't think is developed anymore called Will It Stream or something along those lines, right? This does something similar. So you go to justwatch.com and you type in something you've heard about that you want to watch, and it'll tell you where it's available to buy and where it's available to stream. So you can see, is it on Amazon Prime? Is it on Hulu? Is it on Netflix? Is it something you're going to have to buy on iTunes or some other source? It's pretty good. I mean, I think it has Microsoft's video service. It's got a whole bunch of different services that you can check out. But it's a good one where I'll find a list on the online somewhere of, here are the 30 best shows of 2017, and I'll go through and say, all right, this sounds good. I'm going to watch this. Then you got to figure out, how do I find this, since I'm not using regular cable anymore.
Nice. I'm just checking out the website right now, and I just discovered that there's a bunch of services in Italy that I was totally not aware of, because it lets you choose your country. So I chose Italy, and I'm discovering a bunch of streaming services that I had no idea existed. So, for example, I picked a movie, The Greatest Showman, that my girlfriend really wants to see. And in addition to Netflix and Amazon and Google Play and iTunes, there's stuff like Chili Cinema, which I have no idea what it is. Or apparently my ISP also has a TV product where you can stream stuff. There's Sky, of course. There's the PlayStation icon, which I assume is you can buy movies on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, this is very nice. Thank you for the recommendation, John. This is really useful.
It also goes into not just services, but apps. Like you would find in here, CBS has their own streaming service, at least in the U.S., and the ABC. I see the ABC and NBC and AMC. There's just a whole bunch of the various cable networks that have their own apps. And it'll tell you whether you can use those apps as well. So that's, I would say Couchy and Just Watch are two of the most core apps that I use. And then, and then the rest are really Apple TV apps. And, I guess 6 months ago, I was primarily using Netflix on the Apple TV. Netflix and renting movies, because a lot of weekends we will rent a movie and just watch it on a Friday or Saturday night at home. So we usually do that through iTunes. But now we've also got the Hulu app, which, a lot of people criticize its design. It's not great, but it's certainly no Amazon Prime. It's a lot better than that. It does this weird thing. I think they got a little too fancy. They have, when you navigate the UI, and it's an actual Apple TV UI, but the highlighting, like highlighting the thing that's selected that you can click on, it's underlined above the word or the icon, not below. So it's kind of like the opposite of what you'd expect from the web or something. And it kind of messes with your mind, because you think, it's really the thing in the row above that's selected because it's under
Oh
that,
no.
but it's
Oh
not.
no.
It's see what I see what I mean?
Yes.
It's above the
No.
thing you're clicking on. So once you wrap your head around how Hulu does that, it's not too bad.
There's two more things that I wanted to mention quickly. The Synology apps, the DS line of apps, DS Get and DS File, which we use to download, documents and to and to manage those documents. And also, I've been playing around with the idea of accessing my Synology instead of using the official apps. I wrote about this on Mac Stories in the latest iPad Diaries over SFTP. So basically, accessing my server with stuff like Transmit, for example, or a file browser, which is the one that I also recommend on iOS 11.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to FTP access, also SMB access. So, and I'm beta testing. I retweeted this developer a few days ago on Twitter. There's this beta of this iOS 11 app. It's called Shares. And the developer is actually doing basically a public beta. If you ask him on Twitter, he's going to add you to the test flight. This app lets you connect to FTP and SMB servers directly from the Files app. So you can log into your Synology from Files on iOS 11, and you can move stuff around.
Nice.
You can open, for example, files, and you can send them to Infuse, which is another app that I've also been using before Plex.
Oh, yeah.
Before Plex, I used to manually open video files either in Infuse or MPlayer, which is another excellent option on iOS. But Infuse is, has a cleaner UI, better design. For movies, here's my problem this year. I want to watch more movies. I've never been a huge movie person, but I want to try and make it a habit to watch at least a good movie, not like a stupid comedy, dumb movie to relax, but like a serious movie with an actual story, like one of those big 2.5, 3 hour movies. At least one every couple of weeks. And so I've been keeping track of movies that I want to watch, and I have a huge backlog. Imagine like 30 years of backlog of movies to watch.
That's a big backlog.
That's a big backlog, even by my standards. And I've been making this list in Airtable, which is this beautiful database service that it's sort of like a spreadsheet and Trello mixed together with a beautiful UI. But so I've been making these custom records in this database in Airtable. And then I realized, I'm making this custom thing where I could just use Letterboxd, which is this popular service to make a watch list of movies that you want to watch. You can also write reviews. It's like an entire community on Letterboxd to talk about movies and share custom personal lists of movies. It's a beautiful website, and it's a really active community. But I just want to make a watch list, and it looks great. And there's a new version coming that I'm testing of the native iOS client, which it looks really nice. And maybe I should move the database that I've made of my own from Airtable to Letterboxd, because it's a service that does exactly that, and it's just better than any custom database that I could make.
Right. Let someone else find the artwork and all
Exactly.
all the information for you.
I've been saving movie posters from Google search.
Yeah, I think you should move that over. I've used that app in the past before too, and I got on the beta too, and I'm definitely gonna take another look at it because I haven't used it in a while.
Do you watch a lot of movies?
I watch a fair amount. I mean, I like I said, I think we watch almost every weekend. We'll watch something.
Yeah, with the 4K Apple TV, what I'm realizing is that honestly, nothing beats the convenience of just going into the iTunes store and seeing what's in 4K and just click buy or rent. We've been renting movies, especially since they extended a few months ago the limit to 30 days, so you can rent a movie and then wait like a couple of weeks before you watch it. But otherwise, you don't have to worry about finding a movie via Google search and other means, and it's just on the iTunes store. And it costs, right? Especially if you HD movies, it's not like $2, it's more like 15 or 20, but you also get to keep them around forever, and you can watch them in 4K, which looks great if you have a good TV. So one of my considerations is, do I want to create my own movie library? Because I've been jealous of friends that have these entire movie collections, and every once in a while they can go back in their iTunes history and watch an old movie. So that's something that I'm considering for 2018.
Yeah, I find that we usually only watch movies once, so I've been moving more and more towards just doing the renting. But I get that, whether you buy it on iTunes or you get a disc and then rip it. Okay, Federico. Well, I think that's enough. This has been probably the most hardware intensive app stories ever. But I think that part of it was really important for context. So people understand how we both watch TV and movies, because it really, I think, influences the apps that we use as well. So if you want to take a look at our show notes, go over to appstories.net. And thanks again to our sponsor, Backblaze. And we'll talk to everyone next week. Federico is at Viticci on Twitter. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.